Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry if I'm uploading this episode a little later than Saturday, but I've been a little busy. But anyway, this is a review of The Forgotten. The Forgotten is one of the more unique episodes of Batman the Animated Series. To me, it feels like a strange fusion of The Last Laugh and The Underdwellers. In this episode, Bruce is notified by one of the head volunteers at a homeless shelter that several of the homeless have been disappearing, as well as a few of the volunteers. The head of the shelter tells Bruce that the police have their hands full, and that rescuing the homeless is not big news. That makes me wonder how Commissioner Gordon would have felt about the situation, and if Bruce had went to him for help first. Bruce goes undercover, which is always cool to see, in the guise of a homeless man on the streets. It turns out that the kidnapped homeless in Gotham are being used as a part of a chain gang under the control of Boss Biggest, a fat man constantly gorging himself like a pig as he has his captives do hard menial labor. It feels like The Underdwellers because it also deals with a group of people forced into hard work by a tyrant, and it also feels like The Last Laugh, mainly because of the dirty daylight atmosphere. Bruce gets kidnapped because he was momentarily distracted by watching a black cat, which is a pretty ominous omen of the bad luck Bruce will have to go through in the rest of the episode. He wakes up to discover he is part of the chain gang, and he also has amnesia, which is the main, but not the only place where the name of the episode comes from. This is where the unique component of the episode comes into place, because this is one of the few places in Batman the Animated Series that almost completely follows Bruce Wayne and not Batman, which provides a great opportunity to show what Bruce is really made of. A cool layer that is added to the amnesia is the fact that Bruce is still in his homeless man disguise, which provides a great excuse for no one to tell him he's the famous billionaire Bruce Wayne and remember everything again. Kevin Conroy's performance here is top-notch, and it's more prominent this episode because we follow a Bruce Wayne that has been changed, albeit changed temporarily. Many people, including Kevin Conroy, have said that Bruce is a disguise and Batman is who he truly is. Interestingly, this episode focuses on a third aspect of Batman, which is Bruce when he's not putting on the Playboy act and when he's not out on the streets as Batman. Another episode that uses this, and probably uses it more effectively, is Perchance to Dream, which we'll get to later on. Bruce makes two friends while in captivity, Riley and Salvo. Riley was a volunteer at the shelter, but was also kidnapped and wants to be reunited with his wife and son more than anything. Salvo is a smart aleck homeless man whose comments are actually pretty funny, like when he gets buried in a mine cave-in and he says, "Over here guys, I'm taking 5. Alfred also gets a lot to do this episode, tracking down Bruce. When Alfred finds that Bruce is not in bed in mourning after he gets kidnapped, Alfred has one of his best humorous lines in the series when he goes, "Only vampires loathe daylight more than Batman." This episode definitely proves that Alfred is more than just Bruce's butler, but also a partner in a way when he tracks down the car Bruce was using to get around in the alleys of Gotham City, and using the tracking device on it on the truck of the guys who work for Boss Biggest. At the end when Alfred arrives on the Batwing, Bruce says, "Son of a gun," and the viewer totally agrees. However, as funny as the scene is, I'm not sure about Alfred having an argument with the Batcomputer to get the Batwing to land. I can't think of another instance of the Batcomputer having a conversation with someone in this series, and it seems like a little more of a early 80s superhero cartoon thing to do. Though, again, I did find the scene humorous. Though what I found more amusing is when Alfred jumps out of the plane and says, "I claim this land for Spain," even if he is British. The absolute best scene in this episode is a dream Bruce has that begins with him in his homeless man disguise walking into a funhouse of mirrors. He sees the real Bruce in a mirror laughing, and he turns into the Joker who plunges him into the slums of Gotham. Now Bruce is out of his homeless man disguise and is just regular rich Bruce Wayne, and he is approached by a homeless man for money. Bruce is happy to oblige, but is swarmed by the homeless of Gotham who desperately need the money. As Bruce is being crowded by the reaching hands, he sheds a tear before he wakes up. One of the great things about this scene is that it's told without any dialogue, and the viewer is given everything to interpret. It shows how Bruce really wants to do more than take down the bad guys, but also wants to help the unfortunate. Because he even feels guilty for his parents' death, perhaps he feels guilty for not doing enough to help, even though he was at the beginning working at the volunteer homeless shelter. So we get all of that with no dialogue, which is just great. Anyway, Biggest puts his prisoners in a metal box in the sun most of the time because he feels like it, which is a pretty harsh punishment for an action-adventure cartoon. Bruce and Riley get put in the box for resisting against Biggest's men when they try to put Salvo in the box. As Bruce and Riley are getting cooked, I really felt bad for Riley, who before had said to Bruce to hang on to hope, since it's all they can hang on to now. After hours of being in the box, Riley breaks down that he will never see his family again. This is the perfect trigger for Bruce regaining his memory, because the most important thing that Bruce has forgotten is that he has lost his family. These short series of images just perfectly sum up what Batman is about, and is a very triumphant moment. However, when Bruce breaks out of the box right after, it seems too easy, and makes you wonder why he didn't do that before. I know it's because he has regained his confidence, but all it seems that he needed to do was a solid kick or two to open the box. Anyway, Bruce makes a run for it, being chased by all of Biggest's men and their dogs. Bruce escapes, is found by Alfred, and returns as Batman to take down Boss Biggest and end his chain gang. In the final action sequence, which is pretty cool because it's in the dark, the mine is accidentally set on fire, and they are forced to dive into the water to save themselves. Batman has a very appropriate final retort towards Biggest after he saves him from drowning, where he says, "After you taste the prison food, you'll wish I hadn't." I haven't talked about Biggest too much, but he's very similar to the Sewer King, except he's fat and uses adults instead of children for labor. I like the Sewer King slightly better because he gets under Batman's skin in a way Boss Biggest doesn't. The episode ends with Bruce, Riley, and Salvo talking at the homeless shelter, and Bruce revealing to him who he is and offering them a job. I really like what Salvo has to say at the end, that Riley should hit him so he can wake up a millionaire too. I wonder why they don't question why Bruce looks different while they were in captivity. Hopefully this is the last time I mention the Underdwellers, considering I keep making it out to be better than it probably is. The music, like the rest of the episode, is unique, because it adds a harmonica to the main musical theme of the episode, which I've always found to be pretty catchy. The animation this time around is okay, but is one of the lower quality episodes of the series so far in the animation department. The character movements lack that fluidity that is found in On Leather Wings and Pretty Poison. My only real problem with this episode is that the amnesia is not all that interesting, except for the dream and how he snaps out of it. It seems that the amnesia and action sequences are there to stretch out an episode that doesn't quite have enough story for a full 22 minutes. I do like that the episode takes its time and is denser than other episodes such as On Other Wings, but it's just not as engaging. Maybe this episode could have used another small subplot that better fleshes out the amnesia. By the way, I'm a bit confused as to where this episode takes place, since we see a lot of mountains. It's not important, but it looks pretty far from a city, which explains why Alfred needed the Batwing. But why would Boss Biggest go so far to look for laborers? Anyway, this is a solid episode, and is great if you want to watch a very unique episode for a change of pace, but it could have been more engaging. For this episode, it might be low on terms of replay value, so I give The Forgotten a low 4 out of 5. The Dream, Alfred, and other factors save this episode from a 3.5 for me, but just barely. Thanks for watching and or listening, and stay tuned in next week's review for Be a Clown. See you then. Bye.